Hello and welcome to the Funding Show. This is a show where I invite entrepreneurs and we talk about their journey of raising their first round of equity financing. Today we have Pratyush from Hapram Studios and we talk about the journey of raising their first round of $1 million from Anand Mahindra. We also talk about the need of social platform for artists, and we also talk about the valuation methodologies that they used and the timelines that it took them from the time that they sent out their first email to the time that they received money in the bank. Thank you for joining in today. I'm Yash, co-founder and chief executive at Client Joy, and your host for this show. I hope you enjoy this video, and here we go. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast where I reach out to founders who raised their equity round of financing and I try and understand what was the story behind it, what was the journey, how did they get there, and basically the idea is to learn things from having conversations with these awesome founders. And so today joining me is Pratyush, who's from Hapram Studio, and they very, very recently raised an equity round of financing. Pratyush, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Yash. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm doing fine as well, and thank you for taking out the time and having this conversation with me. So, firstly, let's start with taking a little bit of stock. So, tell our audience about who you are, where you're from, what do you do, what's Hapram Studio, what does the company do, and why do you exist in general as a startup?
Okay. So we basically started Hapram Studios in our third year of the college, which would be 2017. So we were just this team of 6 people who used to work on different products things like audio streaming platforms and then some of the related things related to design and everything. So we had this thing that we want to start working on something of our own, like build a company, build some profit around it. And the thing which we all got into was something that was related to the creators community, because all of us were interested in some sort of form of art. Like I was into music, Vikram in my team, he was into dramatics.
Okay.
And then we also had Rajat, who used to do a lot of photography while he was in college, and so on. So all of us were into some form of related to some of the institute clubs and everything. So we decided that this is something that we all have in common. And apart from that, we were also into tech. So that was our strong point. So we decided to work on something that would bring us closer to what we already liked and the problems that we somewhat understood. So starting from there, we started to build something which would benefit these people, the creators, the artists. And I would say the time that we started, we were still very young. A lot of things, we are still young, but at that time we could not even understand most of the things that we would work, like why should we do this, why should we do that. So but slowly, with the help of people, by talking to a lot of people, by some mentorship and guidance, we just evolved this product into there were several stages through which we went. We evolved ourselves and so on. And ultimately, right now we are building this platform called Go Social. So Go Social is in Go Social, we try to recreate the journey of an artist. So what an artist does is that they start from a beginner and they go to a professional, and in between they have a lot of things that they need to cover. And there they need to have a lot of push, a lot of motivation, a lot of things, a lot of structure that they can go through. So we are aiming to build that experience into a platform, and that's what Go Social is all about, which is currently the major product that we're working on.
Oh, awesome, yeah. That's great to hear, and so that kind of leads me to the next question, right? And the next question being that it typically, when you want to build something, it actually kind of forms like a cycle, right? Where you if you have funds, then you're able to build the product. When you have funds, you're able to build a team. And then when you have the team, then you're able to build the product. And then when you have product, you'll be able to get customers. Customers will give you, either numbers or revenue. and that kind of brings in more funds, right? And it ends up becoming like a cycle, and most of us are not able to figure out where to break that. And so for us at Client Joy, we were basically able to break that cycle from the team aspect, right? Where we were able to hire a bunch of really great guys at a fairly lower compensation that kind of fit our pockets. So where did that cycle kind of break for you? Where were you able to break that cycle and kind of get in, or how did that look like for Hapram students?
Okay, so again, for us, the cycle was broken by team itself, like you were talking about yourself. So we were in college, and we already were we used to learn a lot of things, a lot of different technologies that would come up, and then we had a team in ourselves already before we actually even started this startup.
Oh, okay.
So the team that we currently have, it existed way beyond that. I think it was in the first semester of our college that we became friends and we started working on different things. So team wise, I think we got very, very, very lucky, I would say. If you think of a startup, how important breaking this cycle is. So that thing really helped us. And once we had the team, and then we had we were still in college. We had hostels, we had hostel ka khana, we had hostel ka kamra.
Yeah.
So the expenses were really it would be negligible for us, and all the software that we were using, they would be available for free, or they would have some student discount where we could use them for free. So kind of using that, we had built something that we could take to some people, we could take to the incubators, we could take to the investors and say that, see, we are serious about our stuff. We are not just a bunch of college students, and here we are.
Correct.
And about the customers, so the most important thing I think which was for us to have some feedback mechanism with people around us, with people for whom we are building. So luckily, we used to be in Gandhinagar at that time, and there are a lot of people, a lot of institutes and colleges around there where we had contacts, because we also organized fest and everything. So from there, we used to get in touch with people who are in this domain and who would just use our app and give us the feedback and so on. So that feedback cycle we were also able to establish while we were still in college. So that gave us a big head start, I would say. And that's how we broke the cycle.
Oh, okay. Awesome to know. So would it be fair to say that the product that you were looking to build, or the startup that you were looking to build, however unclear it might have been at those stages, but it came in from your own personal pain points, your own itch that you were trying to scratch in some way, shape or form, and then you were able to find like-minded people who are capable and who have the relevant skills to build this version of the product, or a very early stage MVP of sorts, which then you were able to kind of take to incubators and accelerators or investors, and then show them, and that's kind of how you broke into that cycle. Okay, awesome. Great to know. By the way,
correct to say.
Okay, and by the way, great to know that you're from Gandhinagar. I mean, our organization and sitting in Ahmedabad. So small world.
Okay.
Really small world.
The next, it's a really beautiful city, by the way.
Yeah, Gandhinagar is super beautiful, right? Very, very planned and green and the perfect mixture. So nice to know. The other thing that I wanted to understand was can you tell a little bit about how much have you raised and who have you raised from in terms of the the recent equity financing round that you did?
Okay, so it was around $1 million, and the investor, the leading investor was Mr. Anand Mahindra.
Okay.
And there were also a few private investors that invested in that round.
Okay, awesome. And so how was that journey like, right? So from the time that you had the first version of the product or some amount of very early stage market validation, to then start reaching out to investors, what were some of the steps that you took? Did the opportunities come to you during events or sessions or something like that, or did you actively kind of reached out to them? How did that work for you?
Okay, so I think it happened the both way.
Okay.
So when we were in the final year of our college, I guess it was the 7th semester, and we were working on this project for our curriculum. So we had decided to work on one ramp which we were building at that time. So while we were building, so there was this Cambridge Analytica incident that happened, and
Correct.
Mr. Anand Mahindra, he tweeted about like willing to fund someone who is working on a social media kind of stuff from India. So
Okay.
we were a bunch of college students, like we would throw our hands off anything we find. So we just applied to that, and
Okay.
it went into the cold storage for us. We were not even aware about it. Ki aage kya hoga, whether it's going to happen ever or not. And then we just continued working on whatever we were working with, and at the same time we got in touch with Huddle. Huddle is incubator based out of Gurgaon. So also we and from there we got a lot of mentorship, a lot of guidance on where to go, how to go. And then after some time this thing again it surfaced, and we had to pitch to a lot of people from Mahindra Group. So senior executives from there. So we had 6-7 discussions and pitching sessions, and they would come, they would try to understand our product inside out and the team and everything. So Jaspreet Bindra sir was there to help us on that front. He used to work with the Mahindra Group before, and he really guided us and helped us to set a lot of good discussions around the product that we are trying to build. So and slowly, I guess we finally got the chance to pitch to Mr. Mahindra himself. So just before we had our flights, I guess 40 to 45 minutes, then the pitch was cancelled because there were some reasons we could not change. So the pitch was cancelled, and it was really heartbreaking for us because we had been prepared for weeks for that pitch and everything. But finally, we the next time they themselves arranged the tickets and everything. So we went there, we pitched, and I guess around, I don't remember the exact time, but I guess it was September or October last year, 2019, that we got a confirmation that we will be getting the funds, and we have made it through all the contestants that they had received. And from there, like the paperwork and everything started, and I guess it took around 6 months for us to get the money in the bank, as they call it.
This is brilliant, yeah. So I always, in my limited opinion, which is clearly wrong because the evidence is sitting in front of me right now. But in my understanding and opinion, I always thought that tweets like these were a PR stunt, right? I never ever imagined that they, when they say things on social media much like this, they actually genuinely take it seriously. And so that's the one thing that I learned today from this conversation.
I think the person that we are talking about here, he's really different of among other people that happen to exist on social media.
Correct. And so that's an assumption that I had, which is now invalidated. And thank you for sharing that, because that and I imagine that would have been a really interesting meeting, right? Because you worked on by that time, I think you would have worked on it for how long had you worked on Hapram Studios or Go Social by that time?
So the pitch was in March, and we had started in I think it was around 1 year, I would say.
1 year.
I have to recall the dates a bit.
Yeah.
But I guess it was.
But around a year.
Up down 3 months. Yeah.
Correct. And then so that's like
we were not even officially graduate at that time.
Correct. Absolutely right. And so that's like 6 people working on for, let's say, 10 months. So that's also 60 man months. Working on something, and that you've got to condense it in probably 30 minutes or an hour or 15 minutes. You don't know how long or how much time you're going to have. The stakes would have been really high. So great to know that. The other thing that I also wanted to understand was that at an early stage of a startup, and this is a question that I myself have had, right? So in that early stage of a startup, how do you actually, because valuation is more of an art than a science, right? Because you cannot actually apply any formulas of valuation because you're very, very early into the market.
Yeah.
So So how did you? I'm not sure whether you can share the valuation number or not, but let's say if you, even if you cannot, then what was the framework that you used to arrive at a number of at like your valuation that
Okay.
both you and your investors agreed?
Yeah, so this was, I think, the most tricky thing that happened in those 6 months after we got the confirmation and after we were documenting everything. So it's again, like you said, it's just an art. Like you can't put science behind it, because no early age startup has those numbers, that balance sheet and everything. But you need
Correct.
to put it in a framework so that it is legally correct and you can agree with your investors. So we kind of did something called comparable valuation in our case. So we looked into similar companies that were based in India or abroad, and then we kind of figured out what was the cost of building a product there. So we were mostly tech-based company, and the companies that we were comparing ourselves with, they were also tech-based. So we kind of compared the cost of product development in the countries where they are, and the amount of funds they have raised and the valuation that they get. So that was basically the thing that we followed. So in one word, I would say it was comparable valuations with similar startups. So that's what we followed, but then we had to put it in proper terms. So we had some projections, we had the directed cash flow and everything figured out after that.
Correct. And so just for people who may not know comparative models for valuation, just to add to what Pratyush also said, it's basically where you look at, if you have direct competitors, great, right? So you look at your direct competitors, you kind of look at them when they were at the stage where you are now, and then you look at the valuation that they would have gotten at that point of time, depending on the articles that you find online, and some educated guesses in terms of how much have they raised and from which investors. In case if you do not have direct competitors, which is very unlikely, but if you do not, then you look at indirect competition as well, and then discount those valuations in terms of your expectations, and then back those valuations with typically 18 months to 36 months of financial projections and cash flow statements that you build for yourself, and so that's another interesting thing. Most of the startups actually do either the DCF model if they are a couple of years in, or the comparative model in their first or probably in some cases even the second round, right? The next thing that I wanted to understand from you was according to you, what do you what are the points that you believe were the ones that convinced the investors that they'd actually want to take this risk and invest in your team or invest in your startup? So if you could share some pointers on that.
So from what we understood, the most interesting thing that they found in us was the team itself, like a bunch of tech geeks working on something which they are motivated about and everything.
Yeah.
And also they were pretty interested in this story where we were bootstrapping this startup for 1.5 years, even after moving out of college, without after leaving the jobs and everything. So they felt pretty confident on that front.
Yeah.
And the product that we were building at that time, so they used to use it in their phones and everything, and that was also a very pleasing factor for them.
Oh, okay.
So I think that the team, the product that we were able to build, and also the way we have been building that company, so these things really motivated them. And then the blockchain market was still hot, but luckily we had people who actually understood the blockchains instead of just talking about it at conferences and everything.
Yeah.
So that really helped us convey the value that we had been building with the products, and I think that's what helped us the most.
Correct. And so one, and that's an interesting point, right? So in all the events that I've been a part of, as an attendee or as a speaker, I've always heard investors say that we invest in the team, and that's absolutely correct. However, it talks about the quality of the team, and the kind of experiences that they would have had, or the skill set that they bring on the table. It also involves the persistence that the team has shown in the past, right? And so how much, what are the opportunity costs that the team has incurred to work on this particular idea or particular product, right? And so that's also another thing that should be added when an investor says that they are looking at the team when they are making the investment. And of course, so this is interesting, right? I've come across some investors who would look at the product or sometimes even product screenshots, but very few of them actually use the product as a potential customer and check out what the experience is like. And so that's an interesting tidbit from this answer as well, that they actually didn't just look at the screenshots and the plan in the future, but they actually installed it on their phone and then started using it internally for a while to see how it would feel for a potential customer to use it. So this also brings on. So yeah, sure, please go ahead. No, please.
I'm sorry. Okay, so what I was saying is that no matter how early you are, if you just have an MVP that you can show to people instead of showing them screenshots and designs, so that takes you a big step ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's a big difference in you describing a product and then you making them experience that product, right? So that's absolutely a huge difference. The other thing that I wanted to understand was, whenever you talk to someone as to how much time does it take to raise a round of fund, you typically hear anywhere between 3, if it goes well, then 3 months. If it takes a long time, then a year or whatever, right? So the timeline is like there's a 300% error margin in the timeline, and this is what genuinely investors say. So when I've gotten on calls with investors and I've asked them, hey, if this is our first call today, if everything goes well, then how long will it take for money in the bank? And then they'd say anywhere between 3 months to a year. And so that does not allow us to plan anything. So this is another thing that I want to understand. I'm trying to talk to as many entrepreneurs as possible and figure out what their average has been. And so for you, what was your number from like your first conversation to money in the bank?
So from the first confirmation that we got that we will be receiving the funds to the first tranche that we closed, it was around 6 months. But in between, we had a bridge round to help us keep the operations running. But I would say from the time we started reaching out to the time, like it was the first contact, it happened while we were in the college in 2018. So I would say it took around 1.5 years for us, 1.5 to 2 years for us to the first contact, from the first contact to first getting the money in the bank.
Correct. And it typically takes that much amount of time, because if you're just starting out, and then because a significant amount of that 1.5 or 2 years from you, let's say, starting to look for funds to money in the bank, a significant amount of that time would also have been spent in you learning as to how equity funding works. What is the how does that financing happen? What do different terms mean, and stuff like that, right? So I'm sure it must have taken some time for you to for you or the team to kind of learn and understand that as well. What are the best practices for pitching, how to write financial projections and stuff like that. So the last question. So this is something that I ask everyone, but in your case, it might be partly irrelevant. But the last question that I want to understand is what are the things that you look for in an investor, right? What are the things, obviously apart from the funds, what are the other things that you'd look for?
So I think for us, this investment has been really a blessing. So it's not just about funds; it's about the person that we got on board, and also the other people that we have been working with too until now in this journey. So I guess it's like the fund was more of a vision fund from their side, as compared to them trying to get some high returns from this investment in, let's say, 5 years or something. So I think that's really important for us, that we have the freedom to experiment on the ideology that we're trying to build on, versus like we being pressurized to mold our product experience in order to get to revenue faster. So I think this being a vision investment from their side also helps us like in getting the motivation that we need in order to just keep working no matter what. So this is a really different domain that we are trying to explore, a very different kind of business model, I would say, that we are trying to build things on. So in such a scenario, having an investor who shares your vision is more important than having an investor who gives you money and wants it back in 2 years.
Correct. Absolutely. And with those, with that trinklet of wisdom, I think we've reached towards the end of our podcast. And thank you, Pratyush, for joining in today. And this conversation was delightful, right? I know I learned one important lesson for myself, and I also kind of got to know what your journey was, and I'm sure the listeners that we have, they will also be able to get a lot of things out of this. If you want to reach out to Pratyush, what I'll be doing is I'll be linking his LinkedIn in the comment section or the description section below, so you can reach out to him over LinkedIn and have a conversation with him if you're looking to raise a round of fund as well. Or if you're an artist, check out Go Social. That's also a product that's built for you. And so thank you, Pratyush, for being with us today.
Thank you, Yash, for having me.
Thank you. I'll see you soon. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.